BookTube, writing community, all the words that should be said at the start of a video. I think we need to have a conversation about failure. And I don't mean that fake motivational failure where failure is secretly a blessing. Failure, actual failure. The sort of failure where you sit down and you're looking at your inbox and just thinking, well, that didn't go to plan. I don't think we've talked enough about this in the writing community or BookTube, or honestly YouTube and side hustles and everything in general. Everybody wants to tell you about the launch. Everybody wants to tell you about the book deal. Everybody wants to tell you about the six-figure advance, the bestseller list, the viral video, the dream literary agent. Very few people want to talk about the 27 things that quietly exploded before any of that happened. And I think it's a shame they don't talk about it, because failure is probably the most common experience creative people have. I failed a lot. When it comes to traditional publishing, I've been close so many times. And I don't mean, oh, my mother, like chapter 1, close. No, I mean actually close. I've had literary agents, I've had meetings with people whose names you'd recognise if you're in publishing. I've had editors from Big 5 publishers interested. I've had manuscripts requests. I've had preview chapters. I've sent full manuscripts as well. I've had conversations where people are already talking about what could happen next. And I can't lie, I started imagining what the cover would look like. I started imagining the bookshops. You start imagining the emails and then nothing. Or a polite rejection, or someone leaves the company, or the market changes, or somebody loves it but they can't convince acquisitions, or they love the writing but don't know how to market it, or somebody says yes until someone says no. That's always the last hurdle, and honestly that's the really painfully frustrating bit. If I'd never got close, I think it would have been easier. But being that almost is in there is weird. You're close enough to see the finish line. It's literally a name on paper. But you're not allowed over it. I know I'm not alone in that either. I know a lot of people that have gone through this. I've spoken to loads of writers over the years who have had exactly the same experience. You hear about the successful debut author. You don't hear about the 12 novels they wrote before that, or the 87 rejection emails, or the 3 agents who nearly signed them, or the editor absolutely loved it but couldn't get anyone else on board. Publishing is full of almosts. It's built on almosts, and we pretend it isn't. The same thing happened with another project. Back in 2020, like most bored millennials, I started a podcast. Completely separate from this channel. Every week I would sit down and talk about writing, publishing, and trying to become an author. It was actually doing really well. The first few episodes were getting hundreds of listeners, 5, 6, 800. I remember thinking, oh, this might actually become something, and then nothing. It was like someone flipped a light switch off. One week people were listening, and the next it was 12, maybe 20 if I was lucky. I kept going for a few more months, and, well, I don't know whether the algorithm changed, or whether people moved on, or whether I stopped promoting it well enough, whether the timing was wrong, and honestly, I still don't know. And then my ADHD did what my ADHD does. When something stops giving your brain dopamine, you start wandering towards the next shiny object, instead of fixing the problem. I sort of looked at it, looked away, looked back, and thought, well, I'll deal with that tomorrow. And before I knew it, it joined the giant metaphorical bookshelf of doom, where hobbies and interests end up. If you've got an ADHD brain, you know exactly what that shelf looks like. It's got unfinished projects, half-finished novels, business ideas, YouTube ideas, free planners, 4 notebooks, a random cable you refuse to throw away because one day it might be useful. It's all there. And I mean that. It's basically archaeological evidence of optimism. And that's okay. Well, mostly okay. I think one of the biggest lies we're sold as creatives is that successful people don't fail. They absolutely do. The difference is they failed more. Success has to Success has a really good publicist. Failure doesn't. Nobody uploads a video called, I spent 3 years on this and literally nobody cares. That doesn't make for a very glamorous thumbnail, does it? Well, actually, it probably would. Maybe I should make that. But seriously, people naturally tell the success stories because they're neat. Beginning, middle, end. I worked hard. I believed in myself. Everything worked out. Life doesn't really do neat endings, especially if you're creative. It's unusual. I've worked hard. Everything fell apart. I've questioned every life decision I've made. I ate too many biscuits. I started another project. I learned something. Repeat. I genuinely believe failure teaches you more things than success will ever teach you. Success tells you what worked. Failure forces you to ask what didn't. And that's a different lesson. Some of the biggest improvements I've made as a writer, as a content creator, have come after complete failures. A manuscript that didn't sell, a project nobody watched, a video that disappeared into the algorithmic void, an idea that sounded brilliant at 2 o'clock in the morning and looks significantly less brilliant after coffee. Failure makes you examine your work. Success doesn't always do that. Success makes you think you've got everything figured out. Failure reminds you you're still learning. And I actually think that's healthy. I also think we need to stop treating failure as some sort of moral judgment. Not getting published doesn't mean you're a bad writer. Having a YouTube video flop doesn't mean you're a bad creator. Having a podcast disappear doesn't mean you're worthless. Sometimes things just don't happen. Timing matters. Luck plays a huge part in anything. Markets change, algorithms change, publishing change every 5 minutes. There are books rejected for years that suddenly become exactly what the publisher is looking for. There are books published at exactly the wrong time, and there are brilliant books you've never heard of. And then there are average books that sell millions, and brilliant books that sell a dozen copies a year. That's reality. It's messy. I think everyone in this space, and I'm talking to other creators, owe people a lot more honesty, especially newer writers. Because I worry sometimes that people look at social media and think everyone is winning. Everyone else has a book deal. Everyone else has the perfect writing routine with aesthetic music. Everyone else has 20,000 words before breakfast without drinking some artisanal coffee first harvested by monks on a mountain somewhere. Meanwhile, you're sat here trying to remember what chapter 4 went. Where is it? Where did I save this file? Where did it go? That's normal. You're normal. Creative work is messy. Publishing is messy. Life is messy. And honestly, I'm still here. Despite everything I've just told you, I'm still doing stuff, making videos, still having ideas, some terrible, some hopefully less terrible, because that's really all we can do. Keep making things, keep learning, keep failing. Because every single failure means you're actually trying. I'd rather have a shelf full of projects that didn't quite work than spend my entire life wondering what if they might have. Maybe that's the lesson here. Failure isn't the opposite of creativity. It's part of it. It's built into it. If you're making things long enough, you're going to fail repeatedly. Spectacularly sometimes, occasionally in ways that make you want to crawl under a blanket for a week. But you also learn, you adapt, and you make something better. And if this video reaches one writer who starts staring at another rejection email thinking, that's the only one, you're not the only one, trust me. You're in good company. And we're just not very good at talking about it, are we? Maybe it's time we started. I'm Darv James. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Get involved in the conversation. And if you want early access and exclusive content, check out Patreon, check out Substack, and check out channel memberships. I will see you in the next one.